If you're a die-hard Browns fan and love breaking down the game like we do, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss a blitz. Diontae Johnson is no stranger to the AFC North, but his journey through the division has taken a new twist ahead of the 2025 NFL season. After 5 years with the Pittsburgh Steelers, the wide receiver's career turned nomadic in 2024, bouncing from the Carolina Panthers to the Baltimore Ravens and finally to the Houston Texans, before landing with the Cleveland Browns. But it wasn't just his jersey that changed, it was his reputation too. Johnson's short time in Baltimore was marred by a controversy that still follows him like a shadow. The incident, which unfolded on a cold December afternoon in Baltimore, has now become one of the defining moments of his career. And now, for the first time, Johnson is speaking candidly about what really happened that day, pulling back the curtain on a moment that left fans stunned and his future uncertain. The game in question was Week 13 against the Philadelphia Eagles, a team that would eventually hoist the Lombardi Trophy. On December 1st, under a brisk 41-degree sky at M&T Bank Stadium, Johnson made a decision that shocked teammates, coaches, and fans alike. He refused to enter the game. The moment came when Rashod Bateman exited with an injury and the Ravens needed someone to step up. That someone was supposed to be Diontae Johnson. Instead, Johnson stayed rooted to the sideline, repeatedly going back and forth between the heater and the bench, visibly detached from the urgency of the game. The decision led to swift consequences: a 1-game suspension for conduct detrimental to the team and ultimately his release from the Ravens. But until now, we only had fragments of the story. This week, on the Sports and Suits podcast, Johnson offered his full version. It was cold, Johnson began, his tone matter-of-fact, not defensive. So, I'm on the sideline, just standing there, just going to the heater, back and forth, just waiting to hear my name called, according to Johnson. The decision wasn't about ego or defiance, but about his body and his mindset. He claimed he was thinking about his legs, how the cold might affect his performance and potentially cause injury. I don't want to go out there and put bad stuff on film, he said. For a player trying to navigate the turbulent waters of a mid-season team change, the risk seemed greater than the reward. In his words, it wasn't that he didn't want to help the team. He just didn't think it was the right move for him at that moment. A calculated risk or a lack of commitment? That's the question fans and pundits are still asking. There's another layer to Johnson's explanation that reveals just how mentally drained he felt at the time. You've got to think, leading up to this point, I'd been through so much. I'd checked out mentally. It's a raw admission, one that many athletes might hesitate to make public. But Johnson seemed to be owning his truth. He described a sense of emotional detachment, a numbness to the chaos surrounding him. I was just rolling with the punches, he added. That detachment culminated in him calmly, yet firmly, telling the Ravens staff, I'm not going to go in. He wasn't angry or rebellious. He was, in his words, done. Moments later, he was sitting on the bench, knowing exactly what would come next: suspension, release, uncertainty. All of it on the stat sheet. Johnson's time in Baltimore was forgettable. 4 games, 5 targets, just 1 reception for 6 yards, no touchdowns. It was a stint that barely registered in the box score, but left a seismic impact on his career trajectory. When the Ravens cut ties, it wasn't a surprise. It was inevitable. The Houston Texans gave him a brief chance, and he suited up for 1 game, catching the passes for 12 yards. Once again, the numbers were small, but the consequences felt massive. For a player who once led the Steelers in receptions and was considered a reliable target, 2020 felt like a fall from grace. But with the Browns, Johnson is hoping to turn the page and prove that what happened in Baltimore doesn't define who he is as a player or a person. The Cleveland Browns are offering Johnson a clean slate, his 3rd opportunity in the same division he once dominated. It's a bold move by the organization, especially considering the lingering questions about his commitment and attitude. But Cleveland is banking on the idea that a humble Johnson, with something to prove, might just be the difference maker their offense needs. He'll be lining up alongside an emerging receiving corps and playing under a coaching staff known for rehabilitating player narratives. This is more than just another contract. It's a redemption arc in the making. The Browns see the talent. They see the route-running precision, the footwork, the burst. Now, they're hoping to see the maturity and hunger to match still. The memory of that cold December game in Baltimore lingers like a ghost. Fans remember. Teammates remember. Even Johnson, now looking ahead, can't fully escape it. But he's not trying to erase it either. In fact, by speaking openly about it, Johnson might be reclaiming some of the narrative that got away from him. It's rare to hear an athlete admit to being mentally checked out, to making a decision for self-preservation in the middle of a professional game. In a culture that demands grit and selflessness, Johnson's honesty is both jarring and, in a way, refreshing. Whether fans forgive him is another story, but at least now, they have context. And context changes everything. The road ahead won't be easy. AFC North rivalries are built on toughness, on proving yourself every single snap. Johnson will now face the former teams at least twice this season, the Steelers and the Ravens, both of which have reasons to question his resolve. Every catch, every drop, every moment on the field will be scrutinized under the lens of what happened on December 1st. But maybe that's what Johnson needs: pressure, stakes, a clear opportunity to rewrite the story. If he thrives, the Ravens' game becomes a footnote. If he falters, it becomes a prophecy fulfilled. The margin for error is razor thin, and Johnson knows it. In many ways, this is a test not just of skill, but of character. The NFL is filled with comebacks, from injuries, from bad decisions, from broken reputations. Diontae Johnson is now on his own comeback trail. And while the journey began with controversy and criticism, it's now entering a chapter fueled by clarity and self-awareness. He's not asking for sympathy. He's not dodging responsibility. He's just telling his side, hoping it's enough to earn another chance, not just with the Browns, but with the fans, the media, and maybe even himself. Because in the end, the NFL is as much about second chances as it is about first impressions. So, as training camp looms and the 2025 season inches closer, all eyes will be on Cleveland. Not just because of the team's playoff ambitions, but because of one wide receiver with something to prove. Johnson knows the spotlight is back on him, and this time, there's no heater on the sideline to retreat to. Whether he catches fire or gets left out in the cold again is up to him. But one thing is clear: Diontae Johnson isn't hiding from the past anymore. He's owning it. And in doing so, he might just be writing the most important chapter of his career. Enjoying the content so far? Smash that like button and drop your take in the comments. We want to hear what you think about the Browns this season. Massive changes could be brewing in the NFL. And if the whispers coming out of Cleveland are to be believed, the Browns might be preparing for a full-scale revolution. Starting at the quarterback position. That's right, folks, there's growing speculation that recent financial decisions and front office activity could be signaling something much bigger behind the scenes. We're talking about million-dollar cuts, big contracts under review, and one name standing uncomfortably at the center of it all: Kenny Pickett. While the Browns brought him in with hopes of providing stability and competition, his time in Cleveland could be much shorter than anyone expected. Multiple insiders are hinting at the possibility of Pickett being on the chopping block, or perhaps even being traded before the season kicks off. It's not confirmed yet, but where there's smoke, there's usually fire, and right now, the smoke coming from the Browns front office is thick. Let's back up for a second. The Browns made waves when they acquired Kenny Pickett, formerly the Steelers' hopeful franchise quarterback, in a move that many saw as both strategic and bold. Pickett came into Cleveland with a chip on his shoulder, eager to prove that Pittsburgh gave up on him too soon. But according to sources close to the situation, Pickett's adjustment hasn't been as smooth as the team hoped. Behind closed doors, the coaching staff reportedly has concerns not just about his mechanics, but about his ability to lead an offense with the kind of consistency that wins games in the AFC North. Combine that with a few lackluster showings in off-season activities, and suddenly the narrative around Kenny is changing fast. While fans were initially excited, the front office seems to be recalculating. And now, with these rumored cost-cutting decisions, you've got to wonder, is Pickett part of a bigger plan or a casualty of it? Financially, something big is happening in Cleveland. Reports are emerging of looming cuts and renegotiations that could free up tens of millions in cap space. On paper, that sounds like standard off-season business. But when you dig deeper, the targets of these financial maneuvers suggest something more radical. High-priced veterans, questionable contracts, and yes, even quarterback salaries are reportedly under the microscope. And you don't have to be a cap wizard to see that Kenny Pickett's deal, while not monstrous, isn't cheap either. If the Browns are serious about freeing up room to go after a bigger name, or to make a splash in the trade market, moving Pickett could be one of the first dominoes to fall. It's not just about dollars and cents, it's about direction. And right now, all signs point to a team reevaluating its core. starting at the most important position in the game. Sources close to league executives are whispering that Cleveland might be eyeing a full reset at quarterback. Whether that means going after a veteran star via trade, positioning for a top pick in the next draft, or even rolling the dice on a younger backup. The message is clear: no one's job is safe, and for Kenny Pickett, who already had to fight to prove himself in Pittsburgh, this could be yet another setback in a career that's already faced more twists than expected. It's a harsh reality of the league. Quarterbacks are judged quickly, and patience is in short supply. The Browns, under mounting pressure to deliver results, might not be willing to wait and see if Pickett pans out with a new offensive coordinator and a front office looking to make a splash. The former first-round pick could find himself the odd man out in a rapidly evolving QB room. Let's not forget, the AFC North is an unforgiving division, with stars like Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, and an improving Steelers squad. Mediocrity at quarterback just doesn't cut it. The Browns know that better than anyone. For years, they've tried and failed to find a long-term answer under center. From Baker Mayfield to Deshaun Watson to Jacoby Brissett and now Pickett, the carousel keeps turning. And maybe that's the issue. Maybe Cleveland is finally ready to stop playing it safe and go all in. If the rumors are true and Kenny Pickett is on the move, it won't be just about performance, it'll be about ambition. A message to fans and the rest of the league that Cleveland is done settling for second-tier play, that they're ready to do whatever it takes, however risky, to finally find their guy. And in that context, cutting ties with Pickett could be the first of many bold steps. Pickett, for his part, has remained quiet amid the growing speculation. No cryptic tweets, no interviews, just business as usual, but insiders say he's fully aware of the chatter. People close to the situation suggest he's frustrated by the lack of clarity from the coaching staff. He believed he'd be given a fair shot to compete, but it's starting to look like that competition might be over before it even truly began. Some even suggest his camp has already reached out to other teams, quietly gauging interest should things deteriorate further in Cleveland. Teams like the Raiders, the Commanders, and even the Patriots, franchises still searching for stability, have been floated as potential landing spots. It's all just rumor for now, but it adds another layer of intrigue. Could Pickett be wearing a different jersey by the time preseason rolls around? It's not out of the question. From a locker room perspective, this potential shakeup is significant. Players watch these moves closely. If the front office is willing to move on from a recent acquisition like Pickett, it sends a message that no one is untouchable. That could motivate some, but it could also create tension. Veteran players want to know that there's a clear plan. Constant turnover at quarterback often leads to instability, not just on the field, but in the locker room culture as well. Sources inside the team have hinted that some players are already bracing for a shakeup. There's growing talk about the mystery direction the Browns are heading in, and it's got everyone guessing. The team hasn't made any official statements yet, but expect that to change soon. Because if they are planning a major move at QB, especially involving Pickett, they'll need to get out in front of it before the speculation starts to consume the narrative. It's also worth noting that the Browns have reportedly been scouting quarterbacks in unexpected places, not just looking at big names or proven veterans, but younger talent, fringe backups, and even practice squad QBs. That level of scouting usually only happens when a team is seriously considering a pivot. Maybe it's a plan B, maybe it's just due diligence, but the timing is telling. One league source even claimed the Browns sent scouts to watch a certain college prospect throw this spring. Not a typical move for a team that feels secure. At QB, could they be planning a surprise move in next year's draft? Could they package Pickett in a trade that lands them both cap relief and draft capital? That would be a bold move, but given the growing noise out of Cleveland, it's not beyond the realm of possibility. The pieces are moving, and Pickett may not be part of the final picture. Of course, all of this remains unconfirmed. The Browns have stayed tight-lipped, and so far, Kenny Pickett remains on the roster. But this is the NFL. Nothing stays quiet for long. If the rumors are true, and a major quarterback shakeup is coming, the front office won't be able to hide it forever. Training camp is around the corner, and once the pads go on, every rep, every depth chart shift, every sideline glance will be analyzed to death. The pressure is on, not just on Pickett to perform, but on the organization to prove it has a real plan. Because if they move on from Kenny without a clear successor, fans are going to start asking the hard questions, and after years of mediocrity, Browns Nation is running out of patience. They want results, they want wins, and more than anything, they want a quarterback they can finally believe in. So here's the bottom line. This might be more than just off-season noise. This could be the early tremors of a full-blown quarterback earthquake in Cleveland. Kenny Pickett's future with the Browns is looking shakier by the day, and the front office's recent financial moves suggest that a dramatic pivot could be imminent. Whether it's a trade, a release, or just a demotion, don't be surprised if Pickett's time in orange and brown ends as quickly as it began. For a team desperate to find its franchise leader, the margin for error is razor thin. And for Kenny, this could be yet another chapter in a career defined by uncertainty. The NFL is a business first and right now. The business in Cleveland seems to be pointing in a new direction. We'll be watching. Stay tuned. Thanks for riding with us on another Browns Blitz. If you liked the video, share it with a fellow fan, hit subscribe, and ring that bell so you're always part of the Dawg Pound conversation. Go Browns!